Hi everyone, this is Lori with Three Keys Astrology, as well as my position on the team of astrological.com. I am an advanced intuitive astrologer and am currently providing Black Moon Lilith readings. In the analysis that I'm going to do today, we're going to take a closer look at Prince Andrew. And as you know, he's been involved in scandals for a very long time. From the lineage Duke of York, we can go all the way back to Henry VIII and see that many of these Dukes of York have had scandal, treachery, and all kinds of crazy in their lifetimes. Excuse me, please. In this video, we're going to look at Prince Andrew in regard to his position and his choice be a part of Ghislaine Maxwell's life, as well as to be involved with Jeffrey Epstein, for he is currently accused on a global scale of pedophilia and and direct accusation of having sex with minors. We've seen him. We've seen the pictures. We've seen the interview with Emily Maitlis. If you're new to the channel, please subscribe. Please also subscribe to my Three Keys Astrology channel. Sometimes you'll see different videos over there. I started watching what was going on and looking into the stars of what make up Jeffrey Epstein, Ghislaine Maxwell, and Prince Andrew a couple of years ago. The Maitlis interview, it's from Newsnight on the BBC, is unbelievable. And if you're a psychologist, a sociologist, interested in people watching, I highly recommend that video. Emily Maitlis has Scorpionic and Virgo strong energy, and she demonstrates them, while Prince Andrew has a 0-degree Pisces sun. Remember what I told you about 0 degrees? Prince Andrew's sun, however, is right on the cusp of the 8th house. It's opposite Pluto. He's got Neptune on his IC in Scorpio, and he's got a Leo rising. For all of we that have fixed energy, and we that have children or are born with Leo rising, you know there's a regality to these little sunshine souls. And he indeed was Queen Elizabeth and Prince Philip's, or his mom's, golden child. Please comment below and let me know if after the Emily Maitlis interview on the BBC that shocked and spread like fire around the whole wide world, naive and dumb and privileged Prince Andrew thought he did a really good job in the interview. And against legal advice and against the wishes of the royal family, he took it upon himself to clear his own name. But guys, you can't clear your name when your name is stained. And his involvement is clear as a bell for those that can read the chart and see his stars. I 100% believe that he is a filthy, dirty liar, that he did have sex with not just Virginia Giuffre, but other underage women. And I think he gleefully and joyfully and secretly enjoyed every minute of this power over these very young little girls. We talk about the Geminian complex and Robert Maxwell and Ghislaine Maxwell. Those videos are on the channel. And we have to take a look here too, because Andrew, when you're a golden child, born with a golden spoon in your mouth, privileged, the favorite child of your mom, and in an aberrant way, your mom's not really only your mom, because there was a long span of years between her oldest child, Prince Charles, and then her daughter, Anne, Princess Anne. Many of us that have children after a long time will see Uranus on the ascendant of our babies, because whoops, when we weren't planning it. And it's no doubt and no secret that his father, shown in his lineage with Neptune and Scorpio on his IC, his father was Greek. and handsome, and actually the third or fourth cousin of Queen Elizabeth. So there's some aberrance in their children and their genetics to begin with, and there's some interesting family members and character for those of us that love genes and genealogy. Um, you guys can go find that out on your own. You could spend the rest of your life in the history of the royals and be thoroughly enamored with wanting to learn more and more and more. I highly recommend you do that. So Prince Andrew, um, after the Emily Maitlis BBC interview, when he was lying like a rug, it doesn't take a body language expert to see him twitching and lying, and I mean it just was so ridiculous. Now, Sun in Pisces, we don't see that much of him in his face because he's got a Leo rising. So he was the golden child. He is the best looking of the children in his family by far. Sorry, but Prince Charles didn't get pretty. And Prince Anne should have been a dude. Um, she's more masculine than her brothers. Um, and Daddy's favorite girl, and had a wit so crass like her father. But nonetheless, after that interview, when he thought he did such a good job because he's delusional and a liar, um, he appeared on camera when his royal duties, he was asked to step down of his royal duties that eventually would be officially and formally taken away from him. So, um, right after that on the news, he appeared with a black eye. Did you guys notice? Comment below if you think you know who gave him that black eye, because I think I do. And it'll be fun to match our intuitions together. And please feel free to talk about anything that you feel. So, just because I say to you over and again, astrology is so literal, and fate is inevitable. It is destiny making. When we choose our friends, when we decide who to have babies with, when we decide where to live and what job to take in what area and what part of the country, and on and on and on, all the juicy parts of astrology. So in Prince Andrew's case, it's very interesting that his sun is right all over that cluster of planets in Capricorn in Ghislaine Maxwell's chart. Now, for all of you that are paying attention, I will be doing a follow up of the actual trial because I don't think she gets away with it. Yes, she's self contained. Yes, she has a reserve. Yes, she's postured to be above the cut and is was born entitled and yet so highly codependent. Eighth house can be codependence. Andrew shares this with her. So we know those spoiled little boys and their mommies, don't we? The little rich kids, those Leo rising, the favorite child in the family, and how they get favor and how mommy will go in above and beyond to dust all the mud off their noses, cover up when they get in trouble. Queen Elizabeth does this for him over and over again, and he still is her favorite. He looks most like the Greek side of his family. He's beautiful. Maybe not so much now that we know all the dirty stuff about him, but he was a very good looking man. And he had lots of salacious affairs. You see, for those of us that have the fixed signs Taurus, Scorpio, Leo, and Aquarius on the bones of our chart, we are usually early attracted to the opposite sex or interested in romance. We often get married and have babies young because we go there. Taurus and Scorpio is about sex and money, and it's the most intimate of the signs. And then, as I told you over and over again, my favorite house is 4, 8, 12. You want to see the emotional makeup of somebody that you're interested in, or you want an analysis. There's so much to be said in the gold in those houses. There are roots, our ancestry, our secrets, the crisis, tragedy, the way we act behind closed doors with our lovers, and in the 12th house, the parts of us that we want to hide from the rest of the world. Prince Andrew has Black Moon Lilith in the 12th house. Prince Andrew has Mercury in the 8th house, that house that belongs to Scorpio of essential dignity. And Mercury represents the child and the women, the grown women now that have been scarred and traumatized psychologically forever by being trafficked by these monsters and pedophiles, Ghislaine Maxwell, Jeffrey Epstein. And yes, I'm saying it. I believe every word they say. I believe that Prince Andrew, indeed, like the Arabs and the high officials in government, these elderly, filthy, rich, disgusting men, I believe that they all took advantage of these sweet little innocent girls. And it doesn't matter to me that money was exchanged, because it doesn't matter to me in the way that I find fault with the girls, because I don't. That deprivation and poverty and wanting an education and wanting to do better and not having family roots, we can excuse, because that's society's fault. And manipulators like Ghislaine Maxwell and people we've met in our own lives. That was the bait, that was the lure. And I just want you to think before I go on with Andrew about Ghislaine for a moment. So last week, the prosecution wrapped up their case, and this coming week, it's time now for the defense attorneys. We all have our own feelings about defense attorneys, don't we? And they're justified. However, there's a judge involved, and hopefully this finally there will be justice. And I do see Ghislaine Maxwell not getting a free pass. Um, I'm not so sure that she's gonna have to be held to the 70-year sentence, but I don't see her in her demeanor and royal regal. She's been this way for 60 years, guys. She thinks she's better than everyone else. She has an indignance about her. People that are indignant aren't humble. They don't say they're sorry. They don't care what they've done to other people. In fact, in a psychologically weird and twisted way, Ghislaine Maxwell wanted to marry Jeffrey Epstein. She spent years and years and years with him. And his sexual interest was not what she is, because she was a grown woman. So his deviant personality and sexual preferences for these little girls that were virginal and often were discarded by the time they were 18 years old. I'm sure for legal reasons, because Jeffrey Epstein was involved with some pretty cunning and clever men. It was one himself. The devil is clever and he's evil. I can't look at his face without seeing the demonic, monstrous persona inside of. I can't stand him. He gives me the creeps. Does he give you the creeps? Anyway, I think an interesting analysis of Ghislaine Maxwell's psyche is that while she's got this stern exterior and this indignant stance about that she would never do such and such and such, which I don't believe her. I talked about the Geminian complex. But moreover, it's even a deeper complex when you've got a stellium in Capricorn in the eighth house, because indeed she was daddy's girl and codependent on his money, the positions and power that he gave her and provided her, because she was the youngest of 9 children and was brought up and into all this billionaire wealth and privilege and position. And they say, introduced her to Jeffrey Epstein. She was also codependent on Epstein and so desperate for a man's love, his love. And the similarities between Epstein and her father are creepy, but so true. And yet, when you love the man that you want, but he doesn't desire you anymore because you're not prepubescent and you're not a virgin and you're not a little girl and he's sick, I think that when you listen to the victims explain the way she treated them, and I told you, and it makes me so, so sick. Her moon in Leo, and then all those malefic planets and Black Moon, Lilith, and Virgo, the Virgin on her, I see the roots, where she indeed had these little innocent girls, vulnerable, who they bribed with movies and money and dinners and started out innocent about learning to be a massage therapist and you can make money, and then taking them to this New Mexico desolate mansion and crawling into bed with them and doing all these sick, twisted things. You see, I think that she delighted. She had rules and you can't look him in the eye and all this aristocratic bullshit where she tried to demean them and make them feel smaller. And then because all the locations were so desolate and on islands and out of the way, they couldn't escape. They couldn't get away. And the other interesting thing, the planet we look at too is Neptune, because both all of us of this generation, because they're my age. I'll be 60. Elaine Maxwell will be 60 on Christmas Day, and Prince Andrew is a year older than we are. He was born February 19, or 2 years older than I am. He was, and she. He was born February 1960. But he and Ghislaine met at Oxford, back to her though, and her twisted psyche. So she would degrade and humiliate the girls because somewhere deep inside, she didn't turn Jeffrey Epstein on anymore. She wasn't good enough. Their relationship wasn't sacred. It was so sick and twisted. The similarities between Ghislaine Maxwell and Prince Andrew absolutely um, show why. I mean, it's no wonder that they're friends, is what I want to say, because they were both at Oxford. They met at Oxford, but she brought Jeffrey Epstein into the picture with Prince Andrew. But you know what? He can't make any excuses. He knew who these people were. He was doing what they were doing, and we all know it. And I hope, but I'm not sure about the laws across the ocean and how our New York state laws carry into um, a place where the Queen has control of Parliament and law and the judicial system, because he's the golden child. So interesting about Andrew. So he's got Black Moon Lilith in the 12th house. At the time when I did Ghislaine Maxwell's interview and she was getting ready to go on trial, um, the moon and Uranus were in the 12th house in Taurus. Well, we Taurians are facing fate this year, for the next couple of years. And we Taurians, wherever you have Taurus and Scorpio houses, the entire world is involved in a value system, in what's going on with money and sex, how we bring families into the world, and if we can't, South Node and Scorpio, and sterility issues in the backs. Lots going on, but I think Elaine Maxwell, the madam, the cold Leo mother, to these little girls that went there and said, in their immature psyches, they felt a little bit safe being around him because there was a woman there, because she played the friend. She was the big sister, the nice mommy, the one with money, scouting them, finding them, dressing them, giving them, taking them places their own families couldn't afford to do for them, fixing their hair, getting their nails done, but in a Neptunian way, so deceptive. So that she gave them money was part of the bait, and then the hook in the mouth that kept them going back for more and more and more humiliation, degradation, and just so they could live. And it's so sad. Ghislaine Maxwell's Capricornian stellium in the eighth house shows this adult who's literally kissing the ass of her dad and Epstein, and then playing madam and being a cold bitch to those poor little girls once she got them where she wanted. Now, they used alcohol, Neptune. And when you feed anyone alcohol, beware when you're new at a neighborhood or new on a job in the dinner party. A lot of people pour that elixir of spirits for sort of a truth serum. Young children can't handle alcohol. That's why it's illegal. And to do that to those little girls, and who knows what else. Neptune also rules cameras and photography. And Ghislaine Maxwell's father accused a spy over and again throughout his life. That Neptunian desire of secrecy and spying lived strongly in Ghislaine Maxwell and in Jeffrey Epstein. Prince Andrew also has a Neptunian problem, big time. It squares his sun. Um, it squares his rising sign. I mean, that's opposite Pluto. His sun is opposite Pluto, another dimension of presenting this royal golden child that can do no wrong, this privileged boy who gets to be a perpetual boy with favor after favor and all the money one could want, and prestige and favor all over the world, squaring Pluto and Uranus and Leo on his ascendant. And like I said, you'll see this in those whoopsie babies when it's a decade or longer, often when moms and dads aren't planning a pregnancy. But his parents, his sun and moon square each other, his parents were not getting along at the time he was conceived. And Queen Elizabeth held her decorum. She's got a very strong Saturn in her chart that regulates every part of her life. And this Capricornian energy of what do they say? Um their chin a little bit higher, and this air of authority that's untouchable and detached is the way they present. That's his mom. His mom had to serve the public and the people first before she ever, and she didn't really, wasn't really a hands-on mom to those children, even though she adored him with her eyes, and you can still see that she does. She's a Taurus like me. I get her. I understand her. I love her. Um, and it's awful what at this age in her life she's going through, because the fated nodes of the moon might mean that Andrew won't be having his mom either, on top of the nodal axis squaring him. His Leo rising sign with Uranus and Pluto happens to be coming onto, in the sixth house of his everyday life, his Venus conjunct Mars. He, and this is in Capricorn, this is his sex life. Venus and Mars equal the way we have sex, how we have it, who we want it from, how we like it, and what we do. Mercury in the eighth house with children, Black Moon Lilith in the 12th house of secrets. His chart all over says that he's had soirees, secret affairs, that he's messy in love and dirty and hiding something. They're quincunxing or in conjunct Venus and Mars, his rising sign, where Pluto and Uranus are. Uranus is at the devil degree because I love me some the late Nikola Stoyanovich and his degrees theories. Pluto is at 5 degrees, the beauty degree in Leo, and he was pretty. But it's the devil that sleeps with a child, not a grown man, not a respectable man, not a man decent living in the sun. But when you have sun opposite Pluto or square Pluto, there are issues where you're not presenting the whole self. There's shadow. And when mom and dad don't get along, and you don't really have hands on parenting, because just like daddy, who was always gone, Prince Andrew was always out to sea, not even a real hands on daddy with his own family. And there's this detachment when your Venus and Mars are in Capricorn and in conjunct to his Uranus. In relationships, he would end things all of a sudden. And he's not emotionally, he's Sun Pisces, so he is dreamy and I'm sure loves to make love. And he's got Neptune um, in Scorpio in his fourth house. So that tells that his father's family were people of, they lived in communities surrounding the water. So did the legacy of his mother. England surrounded by the sea, as is, are the Greek islands. And he's got this, served in the Royal Navy. Sun Pisces loves the water. And we love photography and cinema and imagination and fantasy. His first lover that the public knew about was a woman named Kusar. She did a little soft porn. She was an actress, and the family didn't like her because she was too sensual and too rich. She was a New Yorker who is now a photographer. But when their relationship ended, in typical inconjunct of his moon Uranus and his um, Venus and Mars in conjunct this Uranus on his ascendant Leo, being this sun, this fantasy king, this the fantasy king never gets to be the king, and we know he's not going to be the king. In fact, he's been forced to step down from all of his royal duties, and he does not get along with his brother, Charles. They are completely opposite kinds of people, both delusional, though, and yet, please excuse that they didn't get to have hands on parents. And how weird is it that your mom first has to be a queen before she can snuggle you, nurse you, love you, change your diapers? That's not the kind of mom they got. And that early loving gets distorted. And then the relationships and loving relationships distorted too, because we can see it in all of their children. I hope not so much in the grandchildren, because I absolutely love Princess Diana's boys. I love them. I think they're just adorable. I think the whole world fell in love with Princess Diana and her little boys. But Prince Andrew, um, this Kusark wasn't approved by the family well. I'm sure they made dreamy love. She was a Taurus. He's a Pisces. Our two signs are so compatible. We like each other. We get each other. We make sweet love together. But there's something so fantastical about it that it doesn't ever quite touch the ground. And that's that lover, that musician that takes you places in your spirit and soul intimately, but doesn't pay the bills, never around to pay the rent. There's no groceries, can't pay the car payment. And that's the kind of energy Prince Andrew has. He's got all this privilege, but he's really not capable of sharing. Sun and Mercury and Mars and Capricorn can be love that's kind of cold. And in conjunct to Uranus is all of a sudden he's out. So this Kusark didn't make the grade, according to the royals. And he left her. And she played in a movie, starred in a movie called Cruel Passion, which depicted actually what actually happened because she was so in love with him. Along came Sarah Ferguson, this little fireball of passion that you can't help but like and giggle over. How exciting. She brought a little fire and some warmth into the royal family, and boy, did they need it. And shout out to Harry, too, because he sure is doing that. But anyway, Sarah Ferguson got left while Daddy went out to sea, too. So Prince Andrew has this Piscean ability to swim in two different directions and go off. I 100% believe that he's guilty of what his comeuppance is. I am loving the astrology that's so emphatically literal when Uranus popped onto his midheaven in 2018, crossed right over his fortune, and the whole wide world found out in 2019 what he'd been up to. And it got brought out to the light because the top of the chart is the highest point, the midheaven. And it's, if you have your sun up there, it can be an indication of fame. If you have your sun in the first part or the ruler, such as you, Leo, you guys are noticed. We can't help but notice you. You can't hide. We always see whatever you did wrong or whatever you do right. We notice you. And people like Andrew kind of wallowed in that golden light, the golden child. He knew he was pretty. Remember the picture of him when he came home from sea with a rose between his teeth? He's charming, and I'm sure has had a dreamy life until now. With the nodes squaring his ascendant and his descendant, we all know what he did. And you guys, even if he doesn't get legally charged and has to pay his dues, have solace and satisfaction no matter who you are. All of we that are everyday people, there's more than one justice system in this world. And if you study astrology, like astrology, love spirituality, there's more than one way to have justice. God sees everything. You don't get away with anything. So I think because Saturn is right on his descendant, other people saying, toe the line, straighten up. No, you can't do royal duty anymore. Uranus crossing over to his par's fortune, all of us seeing that he was no good, that he did wrong. Lilith in Cancer is where she'll be after April. So it's likely that in the springtime, we're done with Ghislaine. We should know the results of her trial by January at the latest, I think, the end of January at the latest. Um, we all know that he was there. And again, Emily Maitlis is the most fantastic interviewer I've ever seen. So when you have Sun in Pisces at a 0 degrees, his son, the legacy of his family line, the sun, the masculine derivation of who he is and his literal I am, in the eighth house of Pisces shows that he's dependent on his family's money. That's a codependent house. That is where all of Ghislaine Maxwell's planets were. His his IC in Scorpio with Neptune says everything is not what you see, and that's pretty interesting. So I expect that there's going to be more to this story. I expect that it's very hot under the collar of Prince Andrew, and I totally 100% think he's guilty. Do you? And please comment below and tell me what you think should happen to him. I want to talk a little bit quickly about his moon. Let's see if I can do this without losing you. Um, his moon is his moon is in Scorpio, and he likes bad girls. It's in concert with his black moon Lilith and the Mercury in Pisces. He definitely likes himself some bad girls, and he's definitely somebody who thinks that others should serve him. And he's got that same indignant attitude that Elaine Maxwell has. But um, with Sun opposite Pluto and Pluto on your Venus and Mars in the sixth house of everyday life and Saturn in your seventh house of other people and Uranus in the North Node on the midheaven opposite his moon and Neptune in on the IC in Scorpio, it's time for him to pay fate. It's time for him to face his destiny, and I think he will. So this is me, Lori, with Three Keys Astrology, and as a reader for astrological.com, hoping that you enjoy these interviews. Um, I'm next on a wing. I'm fascinated with Elon Musk. I find him so attractive, interesting, appealing, and sweet. So I've looked at his stars. You want me to talk to you about him? If you do, let me know. Bye for now. You have a great day and a very happy week. It's almost Christmas time. So enjoy this amazing December where we have so much to be thankful for. And keep your eyes on Prince. I mean, if you live in England and there's any way that you can start petitions or write to Parliament or whomever, let's stick up for these little girls. They don't deserve the collateral damage that these adults that are have twisted sexual desires that manipulate and con them and then blackmail them. They don't get away with this. It's criminal. So please do your part. If you have any ideas with each other, let's talk about it in the comments below. But let's pray and do more than that for those girls. They all deserve. If you believe like I do, and please comment below, I think that they should liquidate all of the assets of Epstein's fortune and divide it evenly between all these girls that have come forward. What do you think? All right, this is me, Lori, for now, saying stay tuned. And we're going to look a little more about the trial of Ghislaine Maxwell and all the fishy, dirty, filthy crud that's coming to surface. Bye for now.